Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 16 of the Gaming Pubcast, the horror special, spooky and stuff, and horror. Yes, it's very much a subject that is popular in video games, so I think we might have lots to chat about with me, Duncan, and I've joined with Tom.
Hey, Tom. Hello.
And unfortunately, Martin. Real life, unfortunately, children do get in the way sometimes. So Martin will hopefully be back next episode, probably to talk about more horror stuff. Now, so horror games. Let's start with the big one. Are you a fan of horror games, Tom?
I am, yeah. Particularly things like Silent Hill, going back in the day, and Silent Hill 2. So I think the more retro, the better, to be honest with you, for my liking, unless it's VR.
Oh, well, yeah, I think we'll get on to VR ones later. I've very limited experience myself, but no, Silent Hill was. I mean, was it before or after Resident Evil? I can't actually remember.
I think when they ran the same time.
Yeah, because they were very similar. But the first one. I think we were saying about this, although it was a graphical limitation, the fog just made it so creepy. And then you had all the imagery of the nurses they were sort of like mannequin nurses, weren't they, with really weird movements. And then, of course, Pyramid Head, who still to this day is an iconic horror, terrifying character. So it had it all, Silent Hill, didn't it? It had the psychological, it had the jump scares, it had the fear of the unknown, and even thinking about it makes my skin crawl.
I always remember a scene where you get to a bridge, sort of a tunnel underneath a bridge, and there's like a gate covering it, and you can see something moving behind the grate, but within that gate is a stick or a baseball bat. So you've got to get in, get the baseball bat, and get out before it gets you, and then you can beat it over the head. And it always used to get me. That was the one. It sounds so silly now, but it used to get me.
Say first Silent Hill 2. Do you think Silent Hill 2 is the scarier game, or the better game, or everything? Just
I
better
think
in every way.
All round, they just learnt so much from the first that by the time they got to the second, not only did they create incredible in-depth game, but also they went and then released a special edition version that had more content several months later. So it kept evolving, it kept innovating the game itself. So, and obviously we've had like Silent Hill Homecoming, where it's set in the hospital, and we've had Project. Oh, what was the other one? There was one on the Wii. I can't remember what it was called, but that was dreadful. But and then we had the arcade one where it was literally a shoot 'em up as well.
A bit like House of the Dead sort of thing.
Yeah. But I know they're now remaking the Silent Hill games into 4K. That's going to be good.
Well, if they do it, are they remaking as in just making it prettier?
Yeah.
Are they remastering it?
The whole lot's going to be a PlayStation 5 / Xbox game.
Okay, because if they do a Resident Evil style remake where it's almost a different game, and it's updated controls, but it has the same storyline, it has the same creepiness. All good. I think very good. If they just make it slightly prettier, I don't know. I mean, it's so easy to emulate nowadays that I don't think that'd be necessarily worth it, really. Silent Hill 1, 2, and was it the number 4 was The Room as well? Was it?
That's it, The Room. Yeah,
The Room.
I've got that game. I didn't enjoy it, but didn't have the same kick.
They're all scary games. Probably not the scariest games I've ever played. I mean, I got through Silent Hill 1 quite easily, personally. I say easily. It was still, oh my god, what the fuck? And then you just hear things, scuttling around or creeping up to you.
How many breaks did you take in between?
Well, I was a younger, braver man at that point. Not like I am now. You got kids, and makes I don't know, makes me a bit of a scaredy cat nowadays. Or maybe I was. Let's face it, I was a scaredy cat before the kids. But no. I don't know if a full remake would be. But then again, I said that about the Resident Evil, and they've been a massive hit.
Been good, yeah.
Been their biggest sellers, Capcom. But speaking of Resident Evil, I mean, it had a different kind of horror, didn't it? It was more the first one. Not only did it have appallingly bad full version video, it was basically just about 3 jump scares and then a bit of gore. But you did have the first time you ever walked into the room, and it had the cutscene of the first zombie that was chewing on somebody.
Turning around, yeah.
That was just like, ugh.
Especially if you had headphones on.
Yeah, well, if you look at it now, I looked at it the other day. I watched this cutscene, and I'm like, "It really is that it?" It looks terrible nowadays, but back then it was terrifying.
Impressive,
not terrifying.
Yeah.
It was proper horror. But then number 2 dialed down, just had a couple of little jump scares, and 3 was definitely not. It had gone to full zombie style horror rather than your psychological jump scares and creepiness. Because nowadays, I think horrors mostly are loads of jump scares or psychological.
Yeah, I think Resident Evil 6 was pretty good, but again, it was more zombies than.
Really?
I quite enjoyed it. I remember being in Gibraltar on holiday, and me and a friend were like, "Oh, he's coming out at midnight," and we went down to the shop there that stayed open, especially for this game to come out. Off we went, and then we sat up playing it for hours. Pretty drunk, I must admit. So maybe that squiffed our thought pattern on the game, but we quite enjoyed it. So
it was 5 and 6 went a lot more arcadey, though, didn't they? They were,
did. Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't really even any particular jump scares. It was like, here's a load of zombies, shoot them. Here's a puzzle, you've got to walk over there and complete it, kind of thing. It wasn't, in the first 2, you had to get something, and then you'd have to run through loads of areas, and you'd have to conserve your ammo and all this kind of thing. And there was that in 5 and 6, but they were a lot more. They weren't action games, but they didn't feel like Resident Evil games.
That would be fair to say.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think about Resident? I don't know if you've played this, but one of my favorites, and I'm a big VR fan, is Resident Evil. I think it's called The Village, if I remember rightly.
It's basically Resident Evil 7.
It's the one where the girl comes out of the water in the basement and starts scratching your eyeballs out. And I remember the scene where you go up the stairs and the mannequins keep moving, or the dresser mannequins keep moving into different positions.
Don't forget that Resident Evil 7 is within the last few years when I have been super wuss. I will hand on heart and put my hand up to say I have never completed Resident Evil 7. Village was 8, wasn't it? Resident Evil 8, Village was 8. Sorry, because that's what they have. They have the V, the I, and the first 2 L's.
Something
different
like that.
color.
I can't keep up.
Color. So so Village is number 8. Sorry. So I've never even played 8. Number 7 I've never completed either, because just meeting that family in the first bit, and then when you have to get out of that house, and you get your hand chopped off. I had heart surgery about 18 years ago, and I just feel like my heart would explode if I played that for too long.
So if any of our listeners want to see Duncan scream like a girl, let us know.
Oh God!
And
yeah.
we'll jump on our Facebook group.
Maybe stream it a bit, but
we'll stream it on. Yeah, you'll have to come over and we'll make it happen.
Oh, I've played Resident Evil 7 VR, and again only the first bit, and after I couldn't even last 5 minutes. I just took it off and was like, no, that's not for me. That's not for me. And I was absolutely bricking it. No, hated it. But nowadays there are so many games that I'm just like, no, can't play that. I actually bought Outlast.
Okay.
Why on earth I bought it, I don't know. I didn't buy it full price. I bought it a few months when it had been reduced. But I'd seen some people stream it and whatnot, and yeah, I was playing it and I'm like, what am I doing? There's something chasing me. I don't know what it is. I can't fight it. I can't just run around with a gun and go bang, 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 you're dead. And my heart is pounding through my chest. Eventually I'm like, no, I can't play this anymore.
Just hand it to your son and make him play it.
Well, thankfully that was before he was born, I think. But yeah, no. He's I don't know whether he's going to be a bit of a wuss or like Daddy yet.
That brings us on to a game that's just been announced, which I briefly mentioned to you.
Oh yes,
the other day. So it's
God no, this
it's a
again.
game
This
called,
just sounds awful.
Yeah, so it's a
Sorry,
game
I'll
called
let you
Don't
explain
Scream. It's coming out on Steam and eventually PlayStation and Xbox apparently, and it's an 18-minute survival game. It's live footage in a forest, in a graveyard.
It's like Blair Witch kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and basically, if you make any noises, the AI in the game can hear you, and that actually ramps up the response. So you've got 18 minutes,
won't it, or something?
That's it. So you've got 18 minutes not to scream, not to make any noise at all to win the game. And
even the trailer is just going around some forest or something.
Yeah.
And just not knowing what's going on. And you know there's going to be something jumping out at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just the apprehension of not knowing when it's going to jump or where it's going to jump. And in the end, it's just something right in front of you, jumps out and screams in your face kind of thing. And it's, but still, just that bit, I can cope with that. I just can't cope with the apprehension of not knowing.
Another one also, Seventh Guest has got a re-release.
VR, isn't there?
Yeah, it's a
stealth house or something.
Yeah, I mean, for those that don't know, Seventh Guest came out originally on
the first CD-ROM games.
Yeah, it was Philips CDI, PC, Panasonic 3DO, and there was a planned version on Atari Jaguar, which
it wasn't a very well reviewed game. It was basically just go around with a load of FMV and CGI and some puzzles, which the puzzles were a bit hit and miss. But yeah, it was back in the day. I loved it because it was.
I loved it
graphically. It was great. It was some puzzles, which there was a couple that were hard because they were random as well, so you couldn't use a solution for some of them.
Wasn't scary at all.
No, not scary at all. No. But still classed as a horror game.
Yeah,
would you say? Because it's all ghosts and stuff like that. But it would be ghosts, like FMV ghosts, like dancing in a room or talking to you or something.
That's it. Coming down the stairs, coming down the big spiral staircase.
Really hamming the acting up as well.
Yeah. What was that movie? It was a horror movie in the 80s, a very famous one, not Poltergeist. And it was based around a woman that was possessed. And it was, I can't remember the name of it, but one of the main characters, it always reminds me of that movie. I can't remember it, but I'm sure. 80s.
But in terms of game, the games that I've completed, I completed Fear, which the first game of Fear. Those that don't know, it's a first-person shooter, but they have it where it's this little girl with supernatural powers, and she just appears in the peripheral vision. And you'll go around a corner and she's there, but then you turn around and she's not there, kind of thing. So you'll turn around a corner and she'll be 50%, like halfway while turning, she'll be there, and you'll turn back and she's not there, and you'll go up a ladder and she'll jump out of you, kind of thing. And it's the most terrifying first-person shooter ever, easily. But I did complete that. And I would say that's a pretty scary game. Dead Space, I've completed all of the Dead Space games, except the remake, which is out on Game Pass now. All the Resident Evils up to number 3. So I've never actually completed number 4. Not through being scared of it, just never completed it. And then, Outlast. Yeah, I played that. I owned it, and I don't think I will ever complete it. But I've played many others. Layers of Fear. I played that. I just got bored of that one in the end. I did actually get quite far in that, but it was basically walk around, and occasionally you'd walk through a door and something slightly scary would happen. And there wasn't really much to it. It was a walking simulator. You know, you sort of like Edith Finch and all that kind of thing, where just creepy or scary things would happen. But yeah, just got a bit bored after a while. You just expected things to happen, and sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would say the most terrifying ones are just the ones that get my heart going, such as your Outlast. Outlast is just it's in a abandoned psychiatric hospital, for God's sake. No.
I need to play that. Yeah, I don't have a lot of memories about it, so I need to play it.
Well, I mean, I think I even bought the special edition or something that had the DLC, and I didn't even get anywhere near finishing the main game, let alone doing the DLC. But there's been some other games. The Thing, that was a PlayStation 2 game, I believe.
Never played that. Never played it at all.
It's actually quite good. It was. It got the spirit of the film very well.
Okay.
So obviously the film is brilliant horror. Was it John Carpenter, wasn't it? And just whenever they discovered somebody was possessed by the alien parasite kind of thing, it was there'd be jump scares and gore. So it had quite a lot in the film, and it had quite a lot of that in the game. It was a third person action puzzle adventure game kind of thing.
Okay.
And pretty good.
Look.
Pretty good.
Good.
And I completed that. So yeah, I haven't
not so much a scaredy
been
cat.
a wuss. I haven't always been a wuss, but yeah, just they've got quite good PT. I suppose that's one we got to mention. Was it Playable Teaser? It stood for
Playable Teaser. Yeah.
And it was
Didn't we say?
Was it PS3?
Do you have a copy now?
PS4.
PS4. No, it's PS3.
Was it PS3?
I'm sure. PT.
It's PS4. Pretty sure it was PS4. But so it basically was a free demo, and then they just delisted it and took it and basically made it unplayable unless you downloaded it and kept it. So nowadays, if you have a PlayStation 4 with PT on, you're sitting on a bit of a gold mine.
Yeah, you can play it online. Actually, I did find a website that has a copy of the game uploaded, and you can play it online. So whether that gets taken down pretty fast, but
I can imagine. I remember playing there was a version on mobiles that somebody was making. It wasn't called PT, and they didn't say it was PT, but in essence, it was PT. But that was just. I mean, I did have a go at it, at a friend's house, and because I've never owned a PS4, and yeah, just going through that hallway, and my heart would be like, "What is?" Because about the second time you walk through the hallway, you have that door, the bathroom door, where you walk up to it, and it's just slightly ajar, and you just walk up to it, and she just screams at you and shuts the door, slams the door at you.
You got the screaming baby.
Oh yeah, and then there's the baby crying, and then even not playing the game, there was news articles that people who had broken the camera or got the free camera realised that the scary ghost lady was always behind you, and that's graphically how they got it worse. So just even the graphical choices that they make was terrifying. That there was this ghost always right there behind you. Oh god,
that makes it even worse. Someone has actually, if you go on side quest for the Oculus, someone's ported it over to the Quest 2.
Oh god! No, see, I'm just thinking of it just being there, and the terrifying, not being able to see my heart jumping out of my chest. But then again, my heart jumping out of my chest kind of thing. It's for a lot of these games, even playing things like Rainbow Six Siege. I don't know if you played Rainbow Six. You have the attackers and defenders. So when you're a defender, quite often, unless you're somebody who goes on a run around the area, you are sitting in a room or near a room, and you are looking around a corner. So your heart is pounding, because in anticipation that at any time somebody could come through a wall, and even that's terrifying. It isn't meant to be terrifying, but it is. It gets people's hearts going.
It's that apprehension, isn't it?
Yeah, and it can be. That's good terrifying, I think, in a way.
I'm looking forward to when AI allows the game to adapt to the player to such an extent that there's no set plan to a game.
Another game that I wussed out on is one of the Amnesia ones. Amnesia, was it something for pigs? A machine for pigs. I played that for about probably an hour and a half kind of thing. So, I didn't wuss out after 5 minutes. I did wuss out. But anyway, the new version of a new Amnesia game, The Bunker, that one, I believe, is different every time. You have a thing that's following you and can come out. There are various holes, and they can come out, or it can come out of any of them at any time. So if you like it where it's random and you don't know where it's coming, that's probably a good place to start. It's on Game Pass for those that are listening. That is one that I wussed out after about 10 minutes because I basically got to I think it's World War One, and you get to the bunker and you find somebody who's alive still, but then let's just say they're not after a while, after a minute. And as soon as I saw something coming out at me, I was like, nope, this isn't for me. And went back to slapping people with a fish in Hitman. Is there any that have made you?
Yeah, I look at my list, and the one game I went to a gaming expo to play this first of all on VR, and it's not actually a horror game, but it might as well be. And that was Alien Isolation on VR.
God! Oh no, that absolutely is a horror game.
Oh yes. My god! There's a big queue behind me of people wanting to play this game. Popped on the PlayStation VR and screamed like a girl for 5 or 6 minutes. And you got the meter where it's going did and
yes. Oh god, yes.
And then all of a sudden it's aliens there, and you've got to run backwards, and you're like, oh my god! And joysticks suddenly, you're like, where's it? Which one's right? Which one's left? Where do I go? Oh, it's just Yeah, yeah.
See that was a game where I played it for about 45 minutes an hour, and I'm like, "Hey, this isn't as scary as everyone has said about." And then I thought, "Oh, that's right, because I haven't actually met the alien yet." Because you
Yeah,
don't for quite a while, and it lulls you into a false sense of security, and then
yeah,
you actually get the xenomorph, and it's oh, this is why everyone thinks it's
yeah.
scary, because it's
And
terrifying.
the beginning's boring. Let's face it. You got to go and meet your character, the partner character, and go to different areas, and it's all very much
Yeah, it's very linear.
mapped
You
out.
just run through various places.
Yeah.
Um,
My second game, which I've been playing recently, and I have to say, I've stopped playing it mainly because I don't agree with the level of violence in it. So, maybe that's my parent brain coming out, but Condemned Criminal Origins,
oh, that was Xbox and PS2, was it?
something like that. Yeah, and it was so
There was a
you're
sequel,
solving.
wasn't there? I think
There
on
was
the
Condemned, yeah,
360.
the sequel. Yeah, they came out on 360 and on PlayStation. The sequel, you're essentially solving crime and looking for the gang, I suppose you'd call it. And they just came out of walls. They come out of everything, and they're hitting you and they're punching you and they're the sound effects are really intimidating. Especially if
Crunching,
you've got headphones.
gory,
Yeah,
squelchy kind of noise.
yeah. And for me, I was like, okay, this is a fantastic game, but it was, as I said, I think my parent brain kicked in, and that's what stopped me playing it. But it was, for its time, a phenomenal game. Going back further than that, though, now we're going Mega Drive now. Splatterhouse.
Oh yeah, that was mostly gore, wasn't it? It was sort of
Gore, yeah. Jason Voorhees style character.
yes, he was on the cover, wasn't he?
That's it. Yeah,
whoever it was.
I'm sure there was a court case over that somewhere along the line, but but yeah, it's that was a fun game. That was just gore, but and I was trying to
Sort of Clive Barker-ish, wasn't it?
It was, yeah,
like Nightbreed and all that kind of imagery.
Yeah, good game. Fantastic, very quick to complete. It was easy to complete, but I was trying to think of something that was a little bit different. Horror games are a little bit different, and those of you that grew up with the earlier mobile phones and the games that mobile phones had. So we're talking Nokia 3310, things like that, and they actually had an array of horror-based text games that you could play. And this was interesting. So you would have, and I've got some names of these things here. So you've got The Night Abridged, The Man Outside, and We Never Left is one of the others. And essentially what you do is you text to start the game, and the game stalks you. And you have a time that game plays out until then you can actually say, I want this to stop. Okay. And it will send you not only text,
30 seconds for me then.
yeah. Not only does it send you text messages, it prank calls you and you hear sounds down the phone or voices or clues. There was one that actually sent you things through the post, but that was a slightly follow-on version, enhanced version. But yeah, the text-based ones were really creepy, and it almost felt like they were watching you when you sleep, because they actually come out with things such as, you went to bed late last night, and the blue flannel pajamas you were wearing or the navy blue pajamas you were wearing really suit you, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but and let's face it, there's a good chance out of maybe 10,000 players they're going to get it right a few times, and it was just really creepy games, and they're all done through mobile. So
I was talking to wasn't I? That there are some horror games out there that some people swear by, which are just still text-based ones. I suppose it's the difference between watching a movie and reading a book. There are some really well-written adventures out there, which whether they're interactive like those mobile ones you're saying, or or whether they are just text-based ones, which is still interactive, but you can examine things and it's just reading a book, but it's choose your own adventure.
Yeah. Turn to page 9 if you want to face the ghost.
Yep. No thanks.
Turn to page 11 if you want to run and hide.
Exactly. Just every opportunity. I'll just go back to page 11, please.
Yeah. That's it.
I remember playing some text games back in the 80s. Never really had any horror ones, but
They're always
I
ones,
looked some up when we talked about doing a horror special, and they're still being made. I mean, there's still people making them that are, they're just people who like writing and they like video games, so they do a horror video game, horror text adventure. So people want a good scare, try them. They might end up being your thing. I don't know if I wouldn't wuss out. I don't have the time or patience now. I'd love to have the time and patience to do a text adventure. But if I play something like Outlast, I know I'm only going to be occupied for 5 minutes. So win-win for me.
Win-win. So what are some of the worst games, the worst horror games you've ever played?
Well, I mean, there's been some. There was an adventure game which actually has really good reviews, but it just was too weird for me. It had mixed reviews. Was it I Have No Mouth, but I Want to Scream? Is it? Hang on.
Ooh,
I have no. It's a point and click. I have no mouth and I must scream. It was a really weird one where
weird.
it's just got really weird imagery and really weird.
It's a bit like Broken Sword.
Yeah, it's a point and click. It's a point and click one. Then there was another point and click, which was a horror one, which you were stuck in this weird town. I can't remember what it was called. It was you were stuck in like almost like a 1950s, like Americana kind of town, and I can't remember what it's called. I've tried finding it, but still can't find it. But yeah, it's just really weird. But at the same time, you go into some places and there'd be gory bits, but it was just creepy and not very nice, and the puzzles were not very good, and there's been some terrible point and click ones, and especially I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. It didn't make sense. It was like watching a Clive Barker thing that made even less sense. He had some weird imagery where you think, where the hell did he come up with that? And with that one, it was, where the hell did they come up with that? And also not much of a story either. But yeah, so what have you got some terrible ones that you've?
Well, I found a couple, and the most recent one is by far not the worst, but is Amy 33, and it was almost what Last of Us became, but Last of Us obviously was better. It had loads of issues with development, and the chapters just went on and on and on, and it was just, oh god, you felt like you were pulling blood. It was so just long and arduous, and they released it, I guess, on the quick because it wasn't finished. And I think I remember that when you finally came across the main character, her facial graphics would twitch because the textures in the graphics were so bad that you were looking at this thing, and the one part, the middle of the face and the nose would go one way and the other part would go the other way. So, which was horrifying in itself. But so by far the
what was this called?
Amy 33.
Amy 33. not finding it. Hang on. Oh, I know. Sorry. When you just Amy.
Yeah.
There's a game called Amy. Yes. It was on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3.
That's the one. Yeah. Dreadful game.
Yes.
Looked really promising.
Yes, but, I think they released a demo of that, and I got a feeling I played the demo and thought, "Oh, this looks good" and everything, and then I actually played it, and it just didn't control very well. It wasn't particularly scary. The little girl was annoying.
Well, and the worst thing is the story behind it was really on the mark. Amy was apparently an autistic child with supernatural abilities or something like that, if I remember rightly. And I thought, God, dear, you're off treading a fine line there, but but the worst horror game ever, in my opinion, was a Sega Dreamcast game. It was released in 1999 in Japan and in 2000 in North America. And it was D2, the video game. It was a survival horror developed by Warp. And it was written and directed by Kenji Eno, but it was dreadful. It really was.
I'm just looking at the cover of it and things like that, and it looks awful.
Yeah, it's for its era, I suppose you could say it was very unique and very futuristic in a lot of ways. But yeah, it was bad.
I have thought of another one, which I don't know whether this is. I'll be my little. This will be my one controversial thing. Five Nights at Freddy's. I just don't get why it's so popular.
Don't get it, and I don't get the movie either.
I haven't seen the movie yet. Is it on Netflix or anything like that? I don't know. But the movie's come out this week, I think, isn't it? And it just I don't get it. It's a boring game. I'm just looking at D2 on the Dreamcast. It's got a Metacritic of 69, so could be worse, but it's the cover of it and whatnot. Just the graphics aren't great. But no, Five Nights at Freddy's. It's just clicking on some screens and jump scares, and it's I've got to say I don't think I'm the target audience anyway. Because and my reaction with horror games, but also it seems to be very popular with the kids, basically, doesn't it? It's a bit like Fortnite in that respect. It's like it's the horror game for teens, teen boys and whatnot. I haven't seen the film yet, the movie, so I might watch that at some point. But I don't do what I don't mind horror films.
I love a horror movie.
I watched Saw 10 last night.
Any good?
It's all gone a bit just. It's gone more towards Hostel rather than Saw. And the first one was just nobody knew that. Spoiler alert: John Kramer was alive in the middle of that room the whole time, watching them and listening to them and electrocuting them. But since ever since then they've generally gone downhill. And a couple of them are all right here and there, but the quality has generally started up here and up high and just generally slowly gone down.
I watched The Nun 2 the other night. Such a good movie.
Okay.
It exceeds the first one in every respect. I haven't
seen the Nun. Is it a jump scare or psychological or a bit of both?
It's everything. It's all of the above. There's possession, there's jump scares, there's creepy psychological side of things. And I also watched the new Exorcist movie, which
that's got reviewed very badly.
It's terrible. Oh my god!
Because it's even got Ellen Burstyn in there, isn't it? Or from the first film.
And there's a little bit of a sneaky cameo at the end by someone else, which I won't spoil it for anyone. But
it's because it's got the girl from the original one, hasn't it? Or
that's
something
the
like
sneaky
that.
cameo. Yeah.
Oh, is that the sneaky? Yeah. Oh, I think she's on the IMDb page. So
she doesn't look anything like she used to look. She's had a lot of plastic surgery.
Yes. I saw a picture of her and I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was
didn't
like, what
look like
happened
that
to
as a
you?
little girl.
Maybe she got possessed again. So.
I'm my favourite kind of horror films that we talk about are, The Shining, things like that. The Shining is just so. It's a chiller. It's so creepy and gets under your skin kind of thing, and that's the kind of horror that I like. I'm not just the ones that are just jump scare. I'm just like, that's a bit boring now, kind of thing. Or again, my heart can't take it. Have a bit of a story to back your jump scares up. And that's the thing with why I suppose I do want to like horror games, because the interaction of video games means you're part of the horror kind of thing. If it's done well,
yeah,
I just can't though.
I think the two best horror movies I ever saw. One is called The Haunting, which is a made-for-TV movie set in outback America somewhere, and his family gets haunted by this.
It's a Stephen King, isn't it?
I think so. It was such a good movie.
Stephen King.
It was almost like a Hallmark movie. It was. You can find the whole movie on YouTube actually, but it's a fantastic movie. The other one, this is a strange one. There's a bit of a story to this. I know that this is a bit off topic, guys. So apologies.
Is it not the one with Liam Neeson, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Owen Wilson, and Lily Taylor?
No.
So that was 1999. That's gone straight to.
Although that was good, but no,
I don't remember that one.
The Haunted, and it was a 1991 film, and it was set in Pennsylvania. And essentially it was an American made-for-TV television haunted house film directed by Robert Manfield, starring Sally Kirkland.
Yeah, got that. I've got it up now. Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic movie. But my other one, and this is weird, this is a story. It was 1989 Christmas Eve, and that was the year I got my Game Boy. Okay, so I'm going to link it into video games here. Okay. And I remember sitting up with my stepdad watching this horror movie on, I think it must have been like BBC Two or something. And it was set in this big, and I've got no title for this, but it was set in this big grand mansion. And there was these two kids, a boy and a girl, and they played musical instruments. And for some reason, they got to inherit the house if their mother died or something. So this guy, who was a stepfather, drowned them in the river, and then they came back to haunt him. But instead of playing the musical instruments, the nails are meant to grow when you're dead. They still grow, and they had these faces that are all like white makeup, like darkened out eyes, and they would play the musical instruments as they walked, but there was no musical instruments, and they would just appear next to him or in the window and stuff like that. And eventually, they killed him. I have searched for this movie. I have downloaded Radio Times from around that era. Can I find the movie? No, not at all. And it was.
Tell you what, you want to get onto Reddit. There is a group on there, and I can't remember what it's called, but they literally, you could type in what you remember of a film, and I literally there are people on there who you could probably say about 3 words, and they go, "Oh, that's such and such from 1972, and that was directed by so and so." You'd be like, "What?"
You know, I'm going to admit something here, and I'm going to sound like an old duffer. I do not know how to use Reddit.
It's just basically like a forum, really. Yeah, you just search for the sub forum that you want. I can't remember what the sub forum. We'll have a little look and I'll find it.
Yeah, let's do that.
But yeah.
So we digress.
I don't know what that film is, but I think we've established quite strongly that I'm a wuss. Yeah, and and have you played enough scary horror? Have you completed Resident Evil Village?
I haven't. No, but
Oh,
I've played it a lot. I just can't dedicate the time to it. So,
okay.
but
So it's more
I
the
do like
time than the
it's the time.
scariness.
I don't scare easy at all. So I used to run horror events and scare events. I don't scare easily. There's a challenge for you. So
No.
during these scary events I used to run, we had this thing that you see in the papers about so and so haunted house. No one's ever stayed there overnight. So
Yeah.
we would write in and say we'll stay overnight, no problems at all. And all of these places would never ever accept it. So I don't scare easily. I'm not bragging. I don't scare easily. The only
Brag
thing that
away.
scares
Brag
me,
away. I'm quite
claustrophobia.
happy to. Okay. So there are fears there, just not
tight
of
spaces.
things jumping out at you.
No, tight spaces and heights. They're the only two things that scare me. But
I'm
in terms
not
of
great with heights
and,
in my old age as well. I say my old age. I'm 45, but no. Ever since probably about I was 35. Whenever I go up high on something, my legs just that's it. They turns to jelly.
Yeah.
Or even sometimes just the thought of being up high. I see a video of something on a skyscraper or somebody jumping off a cliff to skydive or something. I'm like, no, I have to sit down because my legs just go to jelly. I don't know what it is. I wasn't so much of a wuss when I was 23 kind of thing.
But now you have children.
Yes, now I have children. I'll just blame them. That's the easiest thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. You just reminded me very quickly of a game.
Martin's got all this to come, hasn't he?
Yeah. You just remember me very quickly of a game that used to be on Google Glass, the wearable headset. And it was a zombie game. So you would run, and if you looked behind you, you'd have zombies chasing you on the run. So essentially, it'd make you run faster. And it was really realistic as well. They'd like run along the pathway after you, and some of them would catch up to you and be like trying to bite at you and things. It was really good game. You can get it on mobile still, actually. So
there's all sorts of things to get you to get running, isn't there? But so to end it all, so if you were to pick a kind of horror game, would you go for jump scares, gore, or psychological?
Psychological, all the way.
Yeah, me too. Even though I wouldn't be able to deal with it, I could deal with the gore a lot easier. Desensitized to that many years ago. And if you had to pick one horror game, I'm gonna guess Silent Hill 2.
Silent Hill 2 Special Edition.
Got it in one.
Yeah.
You? For me, if I was to pick one that I could actually play, it probably would be one Resident Evil 2, the original.
Okay. Yeah, good choice.
Because I loved it. I mean, when it came out, I loved it. Nowadays, obviously, those ones have been a bit dated, but yeah. No, there you go.
Good choice all around.
Anybody,
so guys, if you've got your favourite horrors, share it with us on our social media.
Let us know what you are playing at the moment over Halloween, and and also there's somebody behind you. There probably isn't, but there might be your mum. Oh yes, you got people listening on audio can't see, but there's a glass door behind Tom, and so there might be somebody behind him. There isn't, but Anyway, on that note, like and subscribe and all that malarkey.
Share it with your friends.
Let us know if there's any scary stuff that you would like to see me play. I didn't even get to talk about it, but tell you what, next week we'll talk about the game that I teased that I was playing. I will let people know that if they did see the cover that I posted, I've been playing Fatal Frame, which is supposedly and is one of the most terrifying games available.
Is it on Game Pass?
No, it's a PlayStation 2 game. So it's part of my PlayStation 2 journey. And I thought, I'll find a horror game. So I picked one of the scariest games ever made.
We
apparently.
shall hold judgment.
God, so Martin will be. We'll get to experience my wussdom next week. So, on that note,
Yes.
thanks for listening, and
Thanks,
we will
guys.
see you next week.
Next time.
Bye.
Bye.